A major shakeup is underway in the US education system. President Donald Trump has just signed an executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. But what does this actually mean? And can a president really eliminate a government agency with just a signature? Let's break it down. First, let's understand what the Department of Education actually does. Established in 1979 by President Jimmy Carter, this cabinet-level agency oversees national education policy. It plays a crucial role in distributing federal financial aid to students, enforcing education laws, and supporting programs for disadvantaged students, including those in special education and English language learning programs. The department manages a budget of around $268 billion and employs roughly 4,400 people. Among its most important functions is administering federal student aid, which provides grants, loans, and work-study funds to over 13 million students every year. Trump has long argued that education should be handled by states, not the federal government. In fact, eliminating the Department of Education has been a goal of many conservatives for decades, with critics saying it creates unnecessary bureaucracy. However, supporters argue that the department ensures education equity, particularly for marginalized students.
But we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work.
Now, here's the big question. Can a president actually shut down a federal department with just an executive order? The answer is no, at least not without Congress. Since the Department of Education was created by law, it would take congressional approval to fully dismantle it. No president has ever successfully closed a cabinet-level agency in US history. Even Trump's own administration acknowledges they don't have the votes in Congress to do it completely.
This administration intends, this is why I believe this is just an illegal overreach of congressional action. This administration, with these RIF notices, have impacted every last office in the US Department of Education, not one spared. And so the impact that it will have on students with disabilities.
So what does Trump's executive order actually do? It directs Education Secretary Linda McMahon to begin the process of dismantling the department as much as possible within the limits of executive power. This could mean reorganizing certain functions, shifting responsibilities back to states, and appointing officials who share Trump's goal of significantly reducing the department's role. For now, most students won't see any immediate changes. Schools are primarily run by state and local governments, and budgets for the current year are already set. However, if federal education programs are scaled back, the long-term impact could be significant, especially for students who rely on government assistance. Experts warn that the biggest risks will be for marginalized students, including those in special education programs. Federal protections like the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act are enforced through the Department of Education. Without the department's oversight, students with disabilities could lose critical support.
For many of my students, there's already a feeling that nobody cares about me, that I'm responsible for myself. Like, nobody gives a beep about me. And I think that this very much would affirm that for them. I think that it also would cause them to say, well, why is it that I am not important enough just because I happen to be brown, just because I happen to be a minority, just because I happen to be low income? Why should I have less than because of choices that other people made? Kids who are from families that are low income, the children did not choose to be low income.
One of the biggest concerns is student loans. Right now, the Department of Education manages over $1.6 trillion in student debt for more than 43 million borrowers. If the department is dismantled, what happens to that system? The White House has said that student loan programs will continue, but it's unclear who would take over. Trump has suggested moving student loan management to the Treasury Department, the Commerce Department, or even the Small Business Administration. For borrowers currently paying off their loans, there won't be immediate changes, but future students applying for financial aid may face uncertainty as the government figures out who will oversee grants, loans, and repayment programs. So what does all this mean? Trump's executive order is a dramatic move, but it doesn't automatically shut down the Department of Education. The process would take years and Congress would have the final say. However, the effort to weaken the department could still have real consequences, particularly for students who rely on federal assistance. Bureau Report, India Today Global.